Hey guys, the Chief Asch here again today to give you another one of our October horror movie review marathon movie reviews. So today I will be reviewing Insidious. Movie came out a couple years ago. It's gotten a couple sequels. I didn't bother to watch them because of essentially what came of the first movie. Let me explain myself. When the movie first came out, I was like, wow, this looks really interesting. This is something that I want to be a part of, be into, whatever. I'm really into the, ghost-esque movies, and this one from commercials, trailers, what have you, looked rather interesting. It looked rather well developed. And when I first started watching it, I was completely satisfied. It was essentially what I wanted to be. It was everything I thought of. There was creepy moments, parts that weren't jump scares, but just situations where it was just like creepy. For example, towards the, I guess, a quarter of the way through the movie, the mother is, doing chores around the house, and that little sequence where the kid chases her through the house, and then she looks through the window and sees him dancing after he swapped the vinyl to play Tiptoe Through the Tulips. That's creepy as balls. Especially first time seeing that. It was very well done. Or the random spots where the demon would appear during the day, like at the dinner table, and it just, boom, it's behind someone's head. Oh my god. Some of that was so well executed, and a lot of the story was very well punched out. And then it was like halfway, not even, it was a little more than halfway through, 60% of the movie done. Well executed, very interesting, there was flaws here and there, but it was and then halfway through the movie, they're just like, you know what, let's try something else. And then they start that whole thing with the astral projectionist thing. Not that necessarily was a bad way to go with it. A little bit, making that an element to the story. Sure, I'd be with that. That'd be fine, I guess. But then they're like, oh yeah, well he's an astral projectionist because you are an astral projectionist. Patrick Wilson's character. I don't remember his name. Patrick Wilson's character. You're an astral projectionist, and all of a sudden that's genetics. So he's an astral projectionist, and he's just as strong as you. So you have to go save him, and then. So that was kind of dumb, but originally first watch I was just like, okay, where are we going with this? And then it does this whole thing where he's in the, what does she call it, the further, it's like the little purgatory-esque place where only bad ghosts go, like an evil purgatory, like hell but not hell. And that whole sequence is just ridiculous. It's way too much, and I feel like they could have pulled the demon into the real world situation. I feel like that might have been a little bit better way to go with it. But it just kills me with that. Because even the dialogue starts to not make sense. There's very rash decisions made, and then it's like they shoot themselves in the foot almost intentionally, because that's how the second half is. And when I watched it, I was like, okay, well, if they come out with a sequel, they'll notice that the error to this, because critics, various YouTube reviews, what have you, will point out that this astral projection biz isn't really isn't what it came with, and then what isn't the way to go. It just didn't work. Unless they completely reworked it, there's no way. And then they released that they're doing Insidious 2, which I was like, okay, maybe. And I just watched the trailer, read the plot, and I found out that whole movie, I haven't seen it, in my defense, but pretty much one of the main things about that movie is that astral projection world thing. It didn't work the first time, so, let's just do a whole movie out of it. So there's that. So that's just freaking great. But Insidious, as it is, it's not a bad movie. It just shits on itself really far into it. And it became a disappointment. It's not one of those movies where it's like, oh yeah, it's like, oh my god, this might be really good. It for me it was that, and then watching it I'm like, oh yeah, I was right, this is totally good, and then just out of nowhere it's like, okay, it sucks now. It's a complete 180, and it's very surprising to see that. It's one of those things. There's a few movies that I feel like would be really good for film classes as examples. This is a really good example of a script, a full production that just fucking flips on itself. I feel like it's a very solid example. There's a few like I feel like Dark Shadows, that movie came out, the remake of the old series with Johnny Depp and shit. That's a really good example of a movie where like all of the actors are awesome and it's well acted, but they can't save a shitty script. That's a good example of that. This is a good example of a movie that has a great amount of potential, and it's writing a great story, great dialogue, everything, cinematography. That's another thing. The cinematography in the first half of this movie is amazing, and even when they go to the astral projection world, it's kind of cool, but it's very, because I don't even want to call it ethereal. It's very generated. You can feel it. Pretty much the only thing they're in a black room. There's fog, and then there's ghosts, and that's it. And but in the real world, when they're doing all the little hauntings and stuff, they've got these crazy like angles, like going upstairs and stuff. That's like, I don't know. It really puts you in like a creeped out feeling. And yeah. Speaking of creeped out, the way the movie opens is probably one of the most annoying things in the world. But it's like, it doesn't ruin the experience. It's just like, oh damn, okay, it's a horror movie, because it turns on big red lettering. It says Insidious, and then this is how it goes. It shows Insidious, and then you get this super loud like orchestra just, and it's like, what the fuck? But it's kind of cool because you come in here and you come in to watch a horror movie, and that's like boom, and you're like fuck, because it's a jump scare before the movie even starts, and all it is just musical. So that's kind of cool, but it goes on for just a little bit too long. But it's so crazy, and after the movie ends, and you get like this weird little twist ending bullshit, which supposedly is what the second movie is also about. It does it again. It says Insidious. I don't know. It's like I said, this should be a movie that I feel like some film classes might be interested to see, that one that flips on itself like that. It's worth the watch. I can't speak for the sequels. Supposedly they're not worth it. I mean, from what I've heard, and other people don't bother with those. But this one's worth the watch, definitely first time around, and just at least watch until they put Patrick Wilson under, right? Like it's pretty easy to tell because Patrick Wilson's like the actor in this movie, and it's if you want to pick a spot, I would totally recommend this movie in such a way that you watch it until Patrick Wilson gets put under. If you want to watch the whole thing, good for you. It's not the worst. The turnaround doesn't make it like the worst movie ever, but it is. It just doesn't work. It's not cohesive. But anyway, this has been the Chief Asch on another one of our October reviews on Insidious, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. So keep watching.